The twin flame connection is like nothing you've ever experienced. It's so intense, and if you're someone who's been on this journey, you would understand what I mean. And I remember feeling alone and not having a friend to talk to. People around you don't get you, they don't know what you're going through, and it's something that you can't really put into words sometimes. Maybe you're feeling the same way right now. If you are, I want you to know that you're not alone, and maybe you're searching for answers or closure or just some relief from all the emotional chaos. I can't give you all the answers, but I hope that what I'm about to share with you helps you make some sense of it all. So let's get to it. 1. It's deeply spiritual. When you meet your twin flame, your soul recognizes them, even if you're not consciously aware of it. Your soul knows them from the astral realm. Therefore, everything you feel with them resonates on a soul level. They feel familiar, like you've met them before, although you might not even recall how, but they feel you recognize the energy. This is why people, or many people, feel a sense of deja vu, like familiarity. I've been here before. I know this person, but I don't know how. This feels familiar because your soul knows this person. Your soul recognizes this person from the spirit realm. And because this spirit spouse has always existed in the spiritual realm and you've always seen them in your dream state, that's where that recognition comes from. And this is why most people feel like they've met them in a past life, because of this familiarity and recognition that they feel when they meet this person. So, the answer to this is because you've encountered them in the dream state. And again, this comes from that influence of the spirit spouse and not the actual person in front of you, but the energy behind them. You could hear a song and then it feels like they are speaking to you through that song. The astral visitations, you could speak to them, have like vivid dreams about them, and you guys can have a discussion that feels so real, or a conversation that feels so real. They could tell you updates about themselves, or you could, whatever, all those astral visitations are unique to each individual. A lot of things can happen in the astral visitation, during the astral visitation. And I don't want to get into details about that because it's weird. Let me note that the person you meet in the astral realm is not your twin flame. I know it's usually said that it's their higher self that you meet in the astral realm, like the potential, what it could be. But the truth is, this is the spirit spouse disguising as this person. So every astral visitation you have with this person is the spirit spouse and not the actual person. This connection goes beyond just romantic love. It's actually a spiritual connection, a deeply spiritual connection. And having all of these spiritual experiences makes you feel like God is confirming all of this connection to me with all of the signs. But the truth is, God does not orchestrate this kind of connection like I mentioned before. It's these spiritual forces that are orchestrating this connection, and it's not of God. And this is precisely why the connection is so intense, because of all of this spiritual experiences and you're so recognizing this person. So let's move to the next one. 2. Soul tie. You have a soul tie with this person, especially if you're in the separation phase of this connection. And like I said in my previous episode, twin flames are not a single soul split into two bodies. In fact, they are like two individuals who have a soul tie together. And let me explain what a soul tie can do. I mean, not all soul ties are bad, but ungodly soul ties are, and they can create an unhealthy attachment to someone. It feels like a part of you is with them and a part of them is with you. So when you're apart from this person, it feels like a part of you is missing. There's this deep longing and yearning for this person, and you find it hard to move on. Even if you try to, you begin to even compare other suitors to them. You begin to try to find pieces of them in other people. Sometimes you could hear a specific voice and it triggers memories of them, like it sounds familiar. Or sometimes you observe yourself picking up on some of their traits or their hobbies or their habits. And this is usually, you know, tagged as awakening your masculine side or your feminine side. Sometimes it feels like the pain of being without them surpasses the pain of having to deal with their toxic traits. So you probably even want to settle with whatever treatment you're receiving from them just to be with them. So this filter can also make it hard for you to, you know, think about anything else. Like you're constantly obsessing over them. And even if the relationship is not good for you, you just want to be with them. And you try to do everything to get them back, even if it means going beyond your values or your boundaries. I mean, sometimes it doesn't get to that, but if you're someone that has a lot of self respect for themselves, like me, I don't think you'll get to that amount of obsession. But it's so tight can definitely get to you. Like it got to me, it broke me. Like I was obsessing about this person, and I did things that I didn't know I could do for someone. I mean, if anything, it taught me patience. So that could vary for you, but it so tight can really make you, obsess about someone, think about them obsessively, constantly, nonstop, and feel like you can't function without that person. So yeah, and like I said, a soul tie doesn't have to be formed through physical intimacy. It can be formed emotionally as well, and spiritually too. Yeah. 3. Mind control. Let's explore this together. In the twin flame teachings, it is said that your twin flame is the other half of your soul, and you need to heal them. And also, there's this thing called the mirror exercise, which means that if your twin flame is running from you, you're literally running from yourself. And if they are emotionally abusive to you, that means you're emotionally abusive to yourself. So everything your twin flame does to you is like they are reflecting it. It's a mirror of what you're doing to yourself. And let me tell you how manipulation works. When someone tells you that white is black and right is wrong, so imagine your twin flame being in a relationship with other people and you're being told that they are karmic connections and you need to heal to awaken them to this connection. Like, I was thinking, like, how do we give so much of our power away? Why do we let someone else be in control of our life? So even if you decide to move on with this programming and this mindset that you have, that this person is your other soul, you still feel responsible for them. It's like a part of you is still out there. So let me explain how the mind is. Your mind is the center of your will and your emotions. So imagine being told that this individual is the highest form of romantic love you experience. And not everyone is lucky enough to have this kind of connection or relationship. But you have free will and you can decide that you don't want them and you settle for a soulmate. In the twin flame community, it's like a soulmate is like ordinary, like your twin flame is like the prize, literally. So, and they say something like, oh, you could settle for a high level soulmate. Anyway, looking at the psychology behind that, now you feel like you have to do what it takes to earn that prize. And if it doesn't work out, it breaks you to the core. Like you feel like you need to work harder. And how are we being subjected to things like this if it's not a spell? Like seriously. And the thing is, you never know until you get out of it and you look back and you're like, the things we do, like the things we endure during this journey, it just doesn't make sense, logical sense. So if your twin flame runs, you're running from yourself. How is that even possible? How does that even make any sense? Even though they say you need to love yourself, it's not about loving yourself. That's true. But the thing is, all of this is built on, it's all an illusion, built on half truth and half lies. So they use the truth to lure you in, but the rest are just lies. We find ourselves idolizing this person and we occupy our heart space for them, a place that is only meant for God. And this is part of the agenda. Now, to further this agenda, you're advised not to share any of this with friends and family because they might discourage you And yeah, you just have this sense of protection. Like, I need to protect this connection from any negative interference. So I'm not going to share with anybody. And this leads you to believe that the only people who can help you are within the Twin Flame community. So you begin to isolate yourself from friends and family. Instead, you begin to search for your soul family. Now, you see how these seeds planted in our minds can affect our will and our emotion. Just imagine the pain of feeling like the other part of your soul or the other half doesn't want you. This builds that stronghold in your mind, and it leads to negative thinking about yourself. And at some point, you begin to have these suicidal thoughts. So please wake up from this deception. There's no love is worth this amount of stress. And what God has for you doesn't have to be this painful. It doesn't have to be painful. You don't have to work for it. What God has for you is readily made for you. It's not painful. It doesn't break you to the soul, to the core. It doesn't do any of that. It brings you peace. And that's how you discern what's from God and what's not. Peace. That knowing, that peace that you feel within you. If something doesn't bring you peace, then you question that, because that's not the nature of God. So please wake up from this deception. 4. The enablers. The enablers are people who are strategically placed in your life. They could be family, they could be friends, or they could be psychics, or even spiritual mentors or spiritual teachers online, anywhere. Their role here is to facilitate and reinforce this connection. So let me give you an example. Perhaps you find out online that your twin flame is married and they didn't tell you about it, but this was like an information you found out online, and you're like, wait, what is this? I don't think I want to be or involve myself in this kind of situation, and I'm out. Even though it's hard to opt out at that time because the emotions are very intense. But let's say you're deciding, you're thinking about it, you're like, you know what, I'm done with this. No, it's not worth it. Now, you scrolling through your feed, or you're going, you're on YouTube or you're anywhere else, and then you see this reading, this tarot card reading, saying, oh, this person is in a karmic relationship, but their heart belongs to you. And then you click on the video and then you watch all of it, and it's like, oh yeah, they love me. They don't have a choice. They are trying to move out of this relationship or a karmic contract or whatever. And then they'll be back, you will come back, get back together. So they put you back in your delusion. The enablers are there to put you back in your delusion when you begin to awaken. But they could also come in as friends who could just say things randomly. They could tell you that, oh, perhaps maybe your twin flame likes a particular place, and then they could just mention things about that place. I was like, oh, and then it reminds you of that person. They say something that maybe your twin flame said or something, whatever it is. People around you can be influenced to facilitate and reinforce this connection. And it's all part of this orchestration, and regardless of whatever form they take, their role is part of this deception, aiming to keep you bound to this belief system. Number 5, the label. The label twin flame often leads to the idealization of this relationship. And without a label, we are more likely to see and evaluate the relationship for what it really is and see all the red flags. Sometimes the label can cloud our judgment, and then we feel this sense of predestined connection to this person, and now you feel like you're obligated to make the relationship work despite whatever this other person might be doing, despite if they are in a marriage with kids, whether they are with other partners or they have multiple partners, despite if they are emotionally abusive to you, despite if they don't want you, you wait, because according to what we have been taught, the twin flame reunion is the final stage. So there's this hope that there'll be a harmonious union at the end of the day. So yeah, you're gonna wait, So, removing the label can enable you to see the relationship for what it really is, rather than the potential of what it could become. Because that potential only exists in your fantasy. It's all an illusion, none of it exists. What you see and the circumstance of the relationship is what it actually is. So, if they don't want you, if they're, running, hello. But my point here is you don't have to wait around and waste your precious, like, life is beautiful. And it's a gift. One thing you can't get back is your time. So, my point here, let's not dive too far from the main topic of discussion here. Removing the label will empower you to prioritize your well being based on the present reality rather than the spiritual significance of the relationship. And sometimes the twin flame, label can be used as an excuse for narcissistic abuse, because we are being told that there's gonna be separation phase, there's gonna be the push and pull, the off and on. I think you need to go read more, or I would advise that you read more about more on the narcissistic abuse cycle. That would shed some light into what I mean, or what this connection actually is. But the decision still lies within you. It's not anybody's decision to make. Only you can make that decision. If it works for you, then fine. But if it doesn't, you know what to do. And it's very tough to come to this realization that all the healing, all of that experience you go through for someone, only to find out at the end of the day that none of it exists. Well, yeah, if you find yourself here listening to this at this point, there's a reason why you found this podcast. There's a reason why God directed you to this information, and I hope that you take it back to Him and let Him reveal to you all of the things that you need to know. Let Him shed the light and take you away from that darkness. And I feel like I need to mention this. The plan of the enemy is to remain hidden and concealed, and now they hide under that veil of twin flame. But when that veil is off, you see the man behind the scenes. And then you understand everything that you've been in, every part of this deception. So, as you can see, the twin flame connection comes at you from different angle, and it is very well planned, that even when you think you're strong enough, it breaks you. And without the knowledge of the truth, you can easily fall for this trap. The thing is, when you drift away from God, you lose His protection, because you've strayed beyond the parameters that He has set for you. And the reality is, we all possess free will, and God gives us free will. So He won't force you onto a particular path, but if you're attentive, it would show you signs. You would see it in your dream state. Your intuition would tell you. You would feel it, something like there'll be times, no matter how strong your delusion is, there'll be times that you just feel like something isn't right. It will show you signs, but it won't force you to be on that path, or to because you have free will and the decision is still yours. So if you choose to follow the New Age path, it's your decision. However, when you sincerely turn to God and you're exhausted from the pain and the suffering of this connection, and you wholeheartedly cry out to Him, He will save you and reveal everything to you. Like I said, I was so deep in my delusion. If I can be saved, then you can too. But you need God to reveal these things to you, because these are things that are not visible to you. It's beyond just your twin flame, the person, the individual. You're not dealing with the physical, you're dealing with the spiritual here in this connection. And the thing is that in the twin flame community, they all usually say, oh, you have free will. You have free will. You can decide if you don't want to be with your twin flame, But once you decide to move away from this twin flame connection and this New Age, teachings and practices, is another level of spiritual warfare. That's when you see that, you've been in the dark all along, and you see, the connection for what it is, the deception for what it is. All your spirit guides, all of them that you've been communicating with, you see their true colors. And that's why you need God in this journey. Because to fight the unseen, you need the supernatural. And God is capable. He can give you the strength. You don't want to go through all this pain and suffering for a twin flame and lose your year after. Like, what do you tell God on that judgment day? Like, oh, you were, no, that wasn't what He called you for. He gave you a gift that is meant to be used for God, and now it's been redirected. But it's never too late to wake up from it and find your way back to Him. And the twin flame deception is that strategic plan designed to bind you to that spirit spouse, to bind you to their influence, to make sure that you don't get to that God-given purpose of yours. But God says He's able. He can save you. You just need to find Him. You just need to turn to Him. I hope this helps you, and I'll see you on the next episode.